Welcome to the very last fallacy on the master list of logical fallacies, number 146, zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance. Also, zero risk bias, broken windows policing, disproportionate response, even one is too many, exemplary punishment, Juden Judenrein. I think that's how you say it.
Is he Jurden?
Uh,
Judenrein?
Judenrein. I don't know. One of those. The contemporary fallacy of declaring an emergency and promising to disregard justice and due process and devote unlimited resources and occasionally unlimited cruelty to stamp out a limited, insignificant, or even non-existent problem. Example, I just read about an actual case of cannibalism somewhere in this country. That's disgusting, and even one case is way, way too many. We need a federal task force against cannibalism with $1 million budget and offices in every state, a national scan program in all of the grade schools. Stop cannibalism in America now and an automatic double death penalty for cannibals. In other words, zero tolerance for cannibalism in this country. What a wonderful one to end on. This is great. This is a corrupt and cynical argument from pathos, almost always politically driven, a particularly sinister variety of dog whistle politics, and the we have to do something fallacy. See also playing on emotions, red herring, and also big lie technique. Hmm. I've never maybe when I was I can imagine myself behaving this way like when I was like 16 or something when I had no experience in the world, but I can't see myself doing this now. I'm trying to think if there's any examples I can think of that are in modern day world that I can think of. I think no, in my mind the only thing that's coming up, which is the antithesis of this, is like how I feel like we're doing the opposite with gun control in the US, where it's like people are getting shot constantly, and we're just like, we're not doing anything about it. So that's the only thing that was coming up to
Extreme
mind.
tolerance.
Yeah, it's like the other way around. I feel like there are, although I could see how like this one in particular could definitely be used by like governments to really be oppressive on a particular issue. I just don't. Yeah, I don't see this one used very often. I feel like. Uh,
I feel like this one is used in cancel culture a lot.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Someone does something wrong once, and then it's just like eliminate them from everything forever. Yeah. That's a really good example. That's a really good example. Like I think of, yeah, dude. Wow, nice one. I like that a lot. Yeah, we definitely live in a world right now where if you make a single mistake as a human being, you are not allowed to make any mistakes. You're not allowed to be growing as a human being. Yeah, it's so interesting. Even as I talk about it here on this channel, like I'm like, oh, should I be cautious about what I say? Because like it could be a cancellation thing. But an example for me, I think that sticks out is like Justin Roiland, how he was just completely blacklisted from everything, kicked off of Rick and Morty, which it's like, and I don't think he's working at all right now. I don't even know what he's doing. But it's like. Yeah, it's like this guy creates some really incredible show, really amazing, entertainment that the nation just clamored at and loved, creating a something that was some probably one of the best fresh ideas in animation in a long time. And then he gets caught with his domestic abuse thing and then just gone. No remorse even. To me, it's like I don't know. I think that's in no way, shape, or form am I endorsing domestic abuse. However, I am endorsing, or I am saying that like it is sad that currently in our society there's no compassion and there's no. It seems like there's no due process to bet on somebody improving over time. It's almost like if somebody makes a single mistake, we just bet that they're never gonna get better. And I think that's really sad. A case where this isn't so extreme because it was an accident, but um, it's like something that I heard recently. Did you guys know about what happened with Alec Baldwin? Yeah. So like total mistake, total accident. The props person loaded.
I think you need to give the context for the people that don't know the context that
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
listening.
Context. I'm providing the context. Um, on set of a movie that Alec Baldwin was shooting, the props person gave Alec Baldwin a gun, and the gun was loaded with an actual bullet, not with a blank. And he ended up firing the gun, and it ended up hitting, I think, the director of the film. It was either director or a camera person, but it was an important person in the production, and it ended up killing the person. And it was a complete and total mistake. He did not intend to do that. He didn't even know it happened, and he wasn't canceled because of it. However, uh, there were reports much later, like years later after this happened, that someone like went up to him to go talk to him, and he just like exploded on the person who went up to him to talk to him. And I'm like, well, of course, the dude's traumatized out of his mind. Like, go ahead.
It was the cinematographer.
Cinematographer, yeah. He's traumatized out of his mind, and like I can only imagine the insane amount of pressure on him. You know what I mean? Like with a zero tolerance culture like we have in cancel culture, like when I heard that, I was I remember reading that article and being absolutely devastated on his behalf because I was like, one, I don't even know how I could live with myself straight up. But then in the culture that we live in, that is so insanely unforgiving, so quick to jump to conclusions, so quick to blacklist people. Like I imagined, oh my God, what would it be like to go through that, to accidentally murder somebody, and then not only accidentally murder them, but then also uh, to then be hated at the same time and with no forgiveness and no understanding and no curiosity. Just like wildly horrific. So yeah, to me that was an example that popped up as well. So I love that you brought up zero tolerance, or that you brought up cancel culture. I think that's an amazing example of that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a few other examples that it seems like some people recover from, and then other people don't, even though some of the ones that recovered are like far worse. So, Will Smith, when he assaulted Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was a big one. And uh, let's see, is he doing something right now? Is Will Smith working in the industry right now?
I think so. He went on a few apology tours.
Yes, Will Smith is actively working in the entertainment industry. Yeah, so he's around. I just checked Justin Roiland. He's not doing shit.
Yeah,
Uh, he,
nothing.
yeah, he's not doing anything. Um, One that, in my opinion, is a little overblown is John Lasseter. Um, John Lasseter, for those who don't know, was the creator of Pixar, and he proudly had an environment that encouraged um, public displays of affection, of hugging people and being really close with one another. And that went on for a super long time. And then eventually someone just spoke up and they're just like, there are times I don't want to be hugged. And John hugs me a little too long. And then there's some other people that were women that also spoke up. They're like, yep, I feel the same way. I don't like that. And John has also been seen at parties where he would get drunk and say inappropriate things. Um, and he was canceled pretty hard for that. He left Pixar originally for like a 6 month absence, and then it became permanent. Um, but he's still working. He eventually got into directing again at Skydance Animation, and that was a big there's huge pushback against that, and like a bunch of women that worked there like left because they didn't want to deal with John Lasseter. And yeah, since then he's been making movies. I don't think he's had any like public appearances since then, but him and all of his work and that company get super hated on. And I think it really sucks that that happened. And uh, I feel from what I've seen of John Lasseter, I can see that he is someone who's probably autistic and didn't think that um, if somebody didn't want to be hugged, that they would have said so. Um, I don't know, but you know, I can get why uh, he was in the position that he was in and whatnot. But yeah, to this day, still very negative attention on him. And then one that recovered that I'm astounded recovered was Drake Bell from Drake and Josh. Because a few years ago he pled guilty to child endangerment. Um, and
Mhm.
yeah, that's a hard thing to ever come back from.
I
And
think he probably came back from it because of the how he came out later on about being abused himself. I think that's kind of
right,
like,
that was like right after.
yeah.
And I'm like, this is a little weird. So, and that's a tu quoque fallacy, that like, yeah, or you could even say probably the one before this one, the worst negates the bad. That well, he was treated worse, so we don't need to think about this child
Yeah.
endangerment thing. And now he's on podcasts with Josh Peck, and he's around. He's been on so many things, and now he's on social media doing Mr. Beast style videos where like someone who draws this reference on a door from Drake and Josh gets like $1,000 kind of a thing. And I'm like, and everyone in the comments is cool with it. And I'm like, how did you recover from that? That blows my mind.
Mhm.
And then in my opinion, I think what Drake did was far worse than what John Lasseter did. But John Lasseter cannot catch a break. And Drake Bell is seemingly fine. Really weird. Really weird to me.
Yeah, interestingly, I think what's coming up for me around that particular example is it might be a power dynamic issue. People typically, like if you think about the situation where Drake Bell, he pleads guilty to child endangerment. He's in the power position, has power over someone who has less power. And then John Lasseter, CEO of Pixar, arguably insane amounts of power, power over other people. And so I feel like it's like when there's a power abuse situation, people will typically side on the one that was picked on by the individual with power. But it's like in this thing with Drake Bell, it's like, well, he also experienced being attacked and hit by power. So it's like I think that's where like society kind of gives it a pass. But again, I think that's to kind of like go in on this one. I think that uh, power dynamics in general is something that the vast majority of people don't understand. They usually hate because there's this kind of narrative that people with power all abuse that power. And I think that there's like a general like distrust and disdain for people with power or powerful people. And I think that's just because there are people who don't have power that wish they did, and they don't want to acquire it and all the things. But I think it has to really come down to people's interpretation of power dynamics when I really kind of think about it for a second.
Sweet. There's along with cancel culture, there was a lot of friends I would hang out with in college that were very left leaning and like the most left I've ever seen, to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not that far left.
Mhm.
And and they definitely had zero tolerance when it came to like any little tiny thing. And to the point where it's like, can you even get along in society without with rejecting to the idea of working with anybody else unless they perfectly believe exactly what you believe and do. And that's when I was like, yeah, I don't think that's super helpful. Around that time, I was a lot less tolerable of other people that didn't align morally with myself. And now I am like, it really sucks in a lot of the environment that we're in right now because a lot of the world is very divided and on very important points. And that really sucks, but we still have to work together to get along. And I have seen that when you do that and you build rapport by doing that, that does make things better. And this zero tolerant philosophy doesn't help super much. Um, yeah, uh, when because Al and I grew up in this time where we remember a world with no social media, and then there became social media. And this attitude that I had of people before social media was very much forgiving and a lot more kind because I knew that like if somebody did something that I didn't like, I couldn't just get rid of them from my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, because they
Um,
would still be in class the next
they
day.
would still be there.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there was a
Or
level,
they'd be in class with you next year. So you could like hate them. You could try to outcast them for a year, but then everyone goes on summer vacation, then you come back and they're like, "Well, shit, they're still in my class."
right.
Well, okay. Well, I guess Tim isn't that bad, you know? Like that type.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot more people would talk things out
Yeah.
and have a lot better communication and get to the bottom of things. And but then social media came along and they almost all of them have the ability to block other people.
Yeah.
And I now understand that there's definitely circumstances where that is appropriate. But in my opinion, I do think it's way overused and celebrated to the point where it's like, oh, you disagree with me? Well, you're blocked. And that has contributed to the polarization and the zero tolerance narrative because it's like if somebody blocks you socially, that's as good as a restraining order is basically how you should treat it. And really fascinating to me, even though it doesn't actually mean that. That is how it's treated. Yeah, it's a lot of hate. It just sucks, and I wish that um, that wasn't as a popularized as it is now, and that people can talk things out. I like to practice that still, but um, yeah, that's my thought on that as well.
Thank you for the thoughts. I'd love to, because I will have to go at the time. I'd love to have save time for us to be able to discuss just this whole
Yes.
thing in general, because you mentioned it to
Yes.
close out.
Yeah. Are we good with zero tolerance?
I think so.
Awesome. All right. Well, we have completed reading the master list of logical fallacies. That took almost 2 years to get through the whole thing. And I think we've grown and changed a lot. And yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, Alan.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. This came at a very interesting time of my life. So 2 years ago, 29 years old. What the amount of stuff that's happened in my life from 29 to 31 has been just world flipping in so many ways. So not only with the list has there been like moments of interesting conversations and realizations and whatnot. There's also been just a lot of maturing, I think, on my end over these last couple of years. And I think for me, two big things. two big takeaways or two big actually three big takeaways from this whole experience. One was it taught me a lot about finishing something that you start, no matter how long it takes. It's been 2 years. And so like the fact that we've been consistently doing this and it's done, there's a sense of completion, there's a sense of satisfaction of having gotten through this whole thing like we said we would do versus leaving early or quitting early or because it's not convenient or whatever. Like I was talking with Bryce now, like I'm literally at this current juncture of my life, I'm working somewhere between 70 to 85 hours a week and still finding a time to do this and to make sure this is done. And so even with all that, to still prioritize this so that it gets done, it feels good to have gotten that far throughout the whole thing to have that commitment. Um, Second thing for me was it was incredibly, there were a lot of moments where it was really actually validating and healing. So there was a time in my life where I was in a relationship where both me and the person I was with were incredibly hurting in our own ways, and were utilizing a lot of these fallacies in various structures in various ways towards one another. And I remember just like how many times we'd go through a particular, and I remember like a lot of these fallacies, they create these traps, these logical traps where it's like if you buy into the trap that's being set, you can't actually get out of it. The only way to get out of the trap is by saying that is actually a logical fallacy. That is not a valid way to communicate. And if we want to actually have a constructive conversation, the way that you just communicated is not a valid way of communication if we're having a constructive conversation. And so but there were so many times in the past where I would find myself in a trapped situation where I was being told very hurtful things or things were being framed in a very hurtful way, and I didn't know what to do. It was just like I'm just taking it. It's like getting hit upside the head with a bat, but not being able to defend myself at all. So to go through this and to read it, there was a lot of validation of my experience and healing, and I was like, wow, that was happening. That was really intense. Wow, that was fallacious. That didn't make any fucking sense. And it's like because a part of where my mind was getting stuck for a long time was I was focusing on things that were said in that relationship and being like, well, I have to make sense of this, and realizing that the whole point is that some of these things don't make sense, and the point is that they don't make sense. So you're constantly thinking about it in a trauma loop forever. So that was really supportive throughout the whole process, something I didn't anticipate when we were going into this. And then third was being able to consistently ask the question, is this one that I do? And then the transformation was, at first it's called logical fallacies. And the word fallacy, false, it has a negative connotation to it initially. And so for us to kind of consistently review and remember that these things aren't negative. In fact, some can be used positively as well as being used negatively, depending on the intention behind it. Over time, that really expanded my ability to interpret my own behavior, and allowed me to be able to look at myself with either compassion or slightly greater levels of intelligence around what I'm doing versus doing things indiscriminately, or doing things for good reasons, but thinking that by doing them for good reasons and because they work, it makes them true. It's like, no, it's a fallacy. Be aware that it's a fallacy. And if it works, great, but just be aware that what's happening here is a logical fallacy. So just a lot more awareness ultimately overall for myself, and understanding and compassion for myself. I'd say overall what this has done is it's expanded my world in terms of communication. And for me, communication is everything. Articulation is everything. It's a big part of what makes me passionate and excited in life. And so I'm grateful that we've been able to go on this route that ultimately has led to an expansion of my ability to communicate with others.
So cool. So cool. Yeah. I the first time I read through this, I did try to do it like kind of as fast as possible. I'm just scrolling through this now. Just so I could like finish it and say that I did it. I'm really glad that we got to sit down and really talk about each one of these. We didn't rush through it at all. And make note of when I did it myself, times where it has been said to me. Um, and there were a lot of times growing up where I felt very frustrated because there would be some arguments that, like Alan said, put you in a mental loop of, I don't know how to combat this uh, thing that's being said to me. And whoever I was talking to would just be talking in circles. And a lot of the time, it's because either I was using a fallacy or they were using a fallacy. And uh, having gone through this, it's hard to try to memorize all these, but getting better at recognizing which ones are which now. Um, that is now kind of a defense mechanism that when I see it being used on me or somebody else, I can call it out and be like, nope, that is not logically valid. Your statement can be true, but it cannot be true for that reason. You need to find another reason. And if you don't have a reason to believe it, then not having a reason to believe something is a reason to not believe it. So yeah, it's definitely been helpful for me. I loved getting even closer with Alan through this journey. I felt this was a very great bonding experience that I got to have with him, and our relationship is now much better having gone through this, and very grateful to uh, having the time to go through this with Alan. And yeah, it's been wonderful. And then my girlfriend Rain was able to join, and that's been really great because now if I'm ever using a fallacy, she'll call me out on it, or if she's using a fallacy, I'll call her out. And it's not an argument. It's just like, oh yeah, got it. And oh my gosh, that's so good for communication. Having a partner, and she listened to all of these, so she does know all of these, like we do. And if she ever had a question, she would ask, and we can have a conversation about it. Super healthy, in my opinion. I think that everyone should do this. I think it's super helpful. And yeah, those are my thoughts on us finally finishing this list.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I was gonna because I wasn't here for the full 2 years. Um no, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely like agree with what Bryce said. Because there'll be times like I'll say something, he's like, you just used a fallacy, and I'm like, God damn it. Or like I'll say something, I'm like, I don't know if this is a fallacy, and then he was like, which one do you think it would be? And then I would say it, and he's like, oh, I'm not sure if like that's correct or not. Um, and then also like I'm really getting familiar with the fallacies because we're writing something that where each episode is literally about a fallacy. So it's like I really get to know the fallacies, and it's like, okay, which one would fit better uh based on like the events in this episode. So I feel like I'm kind of getting like double the information. So yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. I got to know Alan too through this, so that was cool. Um yeah.
Awesome. Alan, thank you so much for deciding to start this journey with me. And yeah, really cool. I second the idea that, we finished what we started, and that's what we do. And we did it. It's
And
the
also,
end.
yeah, and I want to share too for those for people who are watching, and just to give some context, like Bryce and I, we this was I remember when he and I had lost contact with one another for various reasons, and I don't remember how this came up or why, but I remember that at some point along the way, I was evaluating the people in my life and who have been around, who've not, who's shown up, who hasn't, who's been consistent. And I began to realize through my own journey that friends, people who will show up for us and engage in discourse, especially those who are willing to engage in discourse. I think that people who all think the same things and agree with each other, that's one thing. But I think true friends are ones that are willing to engage in discourse. And although there have been times where Bryce and I have had conversations that have been challenging or uncomfortable, or he doesn't believe what I believe, or I don't believe what he believes, or it goes back and forth, when he offered up the possibility of doing the list of logical fallacies, I remember there being resistance in my system. Me feeling this like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. That sounds like a pain in the ass. This sounds like, as an example, at the time, I was very much more into religion than I am now. And it was like, this just feels like this is his Bible. And I don't even know if I want to get into his Bible because I've got mine. I don't need his. Like, it was this whole thing that was coming up at the time. But I remember the reason I said yes was ultimately because there was resistance. It was this, there's a feeling in my system that is saying on some level, I don't wanna, it doesn't sound like it would be fun. Maybe I could do something else. But for me, like I've really come to find that when there's some type of resistance, 90% of the time, there's some type of lesson that I can learn by engaging and being curious and what's this about. And as a result of that, 2 years later, I'm incredibly happy that I did do this because, as Bryce mentioned, our relationship is now better. It has, instead of this hot fire type thing to it, it's good. It's either on or it's off, or um, we only call each other or talk to each other in certain we could only talk to each other in certain contexts that we agree upon. I now know, I'm like, oh no, I could talk to Bryce more thoroughly about more things because we spent all this time together doing this, and we've developed a deeper, more, I would say, hot coals relationship than a flash in the pan relationship. So overall, incredibly beautiful experience, and I encourage anyone watching to one, reach out to those friends you haven't reached out to in a long time, connect with them, see how they're doing, see how life has shaped them as life has also shaped you, and also be willing to engage in discourse. And if you find somebody who is willing to engage in that discourse with you and still love you and care for you and forgive you and be with you and around you all the time through all of that, hang tight. Those are the really cool friendships that can last an entire lifetime. That is really fun to be able to witness another human being's existence throughout an entire lifetime.
So cool. At that time, I was actually reading through the Bible, and I finished the Bible like halfway through this list, and we talked about that a little bit. Um, and I don't know, I think it's interesting that you saw this as like my Bible. Um, would you say, and this really had nothing to do with this, um, which was a harder read for you? Was getting through all of this a harder read, or like just Psalms in the Bible, or just the whole Bible altogether?
What was a harder read?
Yeah,
Harder
the whole
read.
thing. Because those who didn't know, Alan and I independently read the Bible from beginning to end, which is
Yeah.
normally not the way most people read the Bible.
No,
They normally start in like, was it John or something like that?
they normally start in John, yeah.
Yeah,
John, and they jump around. Which makes no sense to me. It's a book. You can read from the start to finish.
yeah.
Um, yeah, for me, I think honestly, I think that this was a harder read.
Hmm.
Because the Bible, I was independently motivated to seek and find what I was looking to find within that book. And it was like it was a quest. It was a quest. It was a journey of like this personal experience of, ooh, what's in here? And I'm independently curious. Whereas with this, there'd be times where, that voice in the back of my head is like, oh, do I have to do this today? Like, do I really want to? Like, this is whatever. and then I would find a way to get into it and engage and then connect and be in the thing. And there would be times where I'm reading. I remember there were a couple episodes where I was reading the thing. I'm like, fuck this. This is bullshit. You know, like it's like it would
Hmm.
bring up the different things. Whereas oftentimes when I was reading the Bible, if something came up that I didn't agree with, I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't agree with that. And I keep going. But so it was interesting for me. I think
Hmm.
for me personally, this ended up being the more difficult read, but nonetheless, it was still good to do.
Interesting. Interesting. I think for me, the Bible was a little harder just because it's so long. It's really long. This is not as long as the Bible, not even close.
Yeah.
This is probably shorter than Psalms, honestly. But yeah, when I read the Bible, I did it with a bunch of scholarly commentary, so it was like extra long. But I got to learn a lot of like what the original intention behind each thing that was in it meant. And I did learn a lot. I found a lot that was interesting. And yeah, but I think both are very good to read. I think everyone should read both, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you know, that's our thoughts. And you know, you're anyone who's listening, you're welcome to reach out, comment, and for those of you that stuck with this whole thing, we're actually gonna redo the first 14 episodes because we just did it over a phone call and we now realize the audio was so terrible, and we want to get on video call. So we're gonna redo those, um, and Rain will be here for that, so that'll be fun. But anyways, that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you very much, and until next time, later days.